Yo, what's up, everyone? We are trying to stream again. It is time. I am back. Let's see how this goes. I think I've got this all set up correctly. And yeah, today we will be doing some game dev. And from there, maybe play some games or something. So why don't we get into it? All right. We're gonna start with this one. Get you guys over there. Do the green screen here. Yeah. All right. So I have an idea to build a multiplayer game here. And we're going to do it with this really cool guy I know named TaroDev, who made a platformer controller. And let's go find it really quick so I can get it imported. I think it's actually the old one. There we go. That's the right one. Did that work? Yeah, I guess it did. Cool. Let's see, go to layers. Yeah, there we go. All right, now let's get the demo in here. Yes, it has been quite a while. Alright, so check this, guys. We got this really cool demo scene for this platformer controller. Sorry, my keyboard's probably going to be super loud. I had to uninstall NVIDIA Broadcast recently because it is not working well with my computer. So yeah. Turn the music down a bit. Alright, yeah, so we got a little race course here. And even wall slide and wall climb. Let's see if I can get up there. Wow. I'm gonna have to get NVIDIA Broadcast installed again, because I don't want you guys to have to deal with all these keyboard clicks. It's gonna get quite annoying, I'm sure. Got a dash, got a speed effector. I'm supposed to be speed running this, by the way. It's kind of a timed course. Oh my god, I suck. Alright. There we go. Do some wall jumping. Ta-da! And you can see we got our time up here. I think this is our current time, which should actually be running while we're going, I feel. and then that's like the best time. We can actually slow it down to slow mode. Slow motion. Oops, too slow. There we go. There we go. We'll go back to normal speed. We got some moving platforms. We got a teleporter. This moving platform is pretty cool because it will keep you on it when you jump. See how it kind of moves. I'm not even doing anything except for jumping, and it just kind of keeps me with the platform in the same arc. Ooh. And then this one has momentum to it. Whoa. I'll try to be quiet on the key clicks here. I forgot to install some sort of audio effect remover here. There we go. Interesting. All right, so yeah, that's the demo that we got. Let us go ahead and start building this out, though. So I really want to turn this into a multiplayer game, a couch co-op game, where you guys can choose your colors of your marshmallow guy and race each other and talk shit on whoever sucks and loses and get props for whoever's the fastest, you know, that kind of stuff. So let's get into it. Let's see. First off, I don't really like how some of this is set up. Good, good, good. Alrighty. So this, do that. And this has a camera follow, but no, we don't want that. Instead, what we will do is add some Cinemachine. Whoops, not on here. That's right, you gotta do it through here. Virtual camera. And now we'll have it follow the player and look at the player. I kind of forget what these do. Let's see if that's how I want this to work. Whoa, no, yeah, that's gonna get all weird. So I think we want do nothing for aim. I think that's right. Yeah, there we go. That fixed it. Cool, cool. All right. I don't know if you guys can hear those sound effects over my loud voice and key typing. Okay, so we've got a camera manager. It's not really a camera manager, but we're just gonna call it that for now. Get a scripts folder going. Camera. And we will create our first script here. Camera manager. All right, where is writer? Do we have that set up? Should be, yeah, there we go. Should be opening. Or not. Did I not double click it? Thought I did. Ah, there we go. Alrighty. So we'll just try to keep this simple. Yes, add. What? Thank you, writer. I just deleted that. Just felt like deleting it again. Thanks. That made sense. Wow, can't spell today. Alright, what we'll do, we'll actually make a static class called camera events. Static void set target. And then static event action of transform, and we'll call this on set target, just like that. And we're gonna make it an empty delegate so that we don't have to do any null checks. Just call on set target invoke with our target. Boom. And let's move this into its own thing. Sometimes I do this with scriptable objects, sometimes I just do static classes, it kind of depends. I've actually been leaning towards the static classes lately. But if you have a lot of designers or something, and it's easier for a designer to work with a scriptable object instead, then you can always turn this kind of thing into a scriptable object. Anyways, we're going to use this in our camera manager here. We'll say camera events.onsetTarget plus equals, and we'll create a method onsetTarget. Get rid of that. Let's make sure that we also unsubscribe, clear out the memory when needed. Alright, then we're going to need a reference to our, is it Cinemachine virtual camera? Yes, Cinemachine virtual camera. Virtual camera. Wow. And I'd like to put this on its own line. The Cinemachine virtual camera component. Awesome. And we'll even give this a header up here. Dependencies. Alright, and then our virtual camera follow will equal the target, and the virtual camera dot look at will also equal the target. Might change these up later to like on set follow target or look at target, but for now we'll just keep it simple. Then we're just going to stay in here. We're going to just build up a bunch of stuff right here really quick. So we'll call this our player manager. Move that out. And I like to use transform for prefab references. We'll call this the player. The player prefab game object. Oop. take that and we'll make another one called settings. And we'll take that and paste that just to be quick here. Start position. Do I want to do that as a transform? We'll just do that as a transform for now. The player's starting position. Oh, wow. There we go. Then on awake, our player equals instantiate the player, and we get the transform that player, and then we say that player dot position, because it's a transform, equals the start position dot position. Kind of redundant. Always kind of bothers me a bit, but hey, gotta do it sometimes. So yeah, there we go. And we'll get our scripts attached here. Drag in our dependencies. Might need the actual camera too, but we'll worry about that later. Alright, then let's get a player manager. Drag that on there. We'll go find the prefab, drag it in, and create a new start position. We will copy this position. We'll paste it here. And we will delete our player. In fact, I think I might put this in the environment. Make sure to drag that in there. Then make a start method, because we want to make sure the camera manager has already subscribed to this event, and maybe we will call this player prefab just to be explicit. I hate when Writer adds a bunch of extra stuff. Sometimes I like it, but sometimes I do not like it. And then this one will be called player. We'll swap that out here, just so we now have reference to it. And then here, say camera events dot set target to the player. Hey. All right, keeping things simple for now. And so now there is no player in our scene, but we should be able to play the, oh shoot, the prefab got got reset because I renamed it. That's why I should have left the thing from Writer. The used to be serialized as field, but too late now. All right, so now when we play, it should spawn our player at our start position. Boom, and the camera follows. Perfect. Okay, that's exactly what we want. Because now we can have multiple players get spawned in. We can create multiple cameras for different players, etc. Oh, cool. You can climb this. You can climb up and down the ladders here. Anyways, all right, let's see. What do we want to do next? Need so big. I like this little obstacle course. It's very cool. What should we do next? I don't know, let's just, I guess, build things up as fast as possible here. What else am I gonna want? Well, let's look at this. Uninstalled warning. Please install the new input system. We have that installed, I think. I only use the new input system now. So we shall get rid of that. There's our event system. Okay, so then this I like to put on a UI manager. Throw that there. Oh, I always love it when Unity sets weird values for things. Now we don't really need a UI manager for anything at the moment. And I'm not sure I want this to set that directly on the camera from start. So what we will do is create another public static class called player events. Public static event action transform on player spawned. And again, I like to set these to empty delegates because then you can invoke them without doing a null check, which saves you a lot of performance. So we got a public static void player spawned. I like to call these the same as the event, just without the word on. And we'll call this player. And we call on player spawned invoked with the player. Now, I don't think I'm actually going to use this yet because I'm trying to keep this simple until I get things working how I want them to. But it's good to have because I might have like a game manager that listens for this and then sets it on the camera manager. That way these things aren't directly invoking events. Well, I mean, technically it's through an event, a static event class, so it's modular, but I would prefer my managers to not really know about other managers or their event classes, their associated event classes. Now, one thing I like to do is to fill all this out too. Event invoked when a player is spawned. Invoke the player spawned event. The spawned player object. Yeah. Okay, so don't need that, don't need that. And then we'll do the same thing here. Event invoked when setting the camera target. Invoke the set target camera event. The target object to set. Just good practice, nice and clean. Let's go back to our camera manager. Yeah, that's all looking good. Okay. Gotcha. Okay, so this is where all the UI stuff is done. Uninstalled warning. So now this is all of TerraDev's code here, which is cool, but let's get rid of this thing, the uninstalled warning, and we'll fix this. This is all kind of weird. Let's see. Okay. What is the interface object? Just the actual UI. Okay. So it's turning that on if it's installed. We don't really need that. Let's get rid of that. Really need this else for now, so we'll get rid of that. Alrighty. Wonder why Twitch isn't letting me get the different quality settings here. I'm stuck only at 1080p, which is wonderful. That's great quality, but that might not be the best for everyone watching. I will have to readjust my settings for the next stream here. Alright, let's see. So I guess let's make an audio manager next. Whoops, all these things are going in the wrong folder. Let us stay organized. Put that in there. Let Unity recompile. Create an audio folder. We will create a new script. Call it the audio manager. Now, do I really need all these things right now? No, not really, but just seems good to kind of get them out of the way until I want to pull in some other tools or assets to use for this. Audio events. What audio clip? On play music. Play music. Audio clip. On play music invoke with the. Actually, you know what? Let's call that instead of audio clip, we'll call it music. Event invoked when playing music. Event invoked to play music. Let's do that. I like that better. Invoke an event to play music. The music to play. You know, just very straightforward stuff here. On enable, audio event, stop on play music, and we'll create a method on play music. Rename this to music. Make sure we unsubscribe as well. Now how do we want to do this? You know what, I guess for now, let's just give it a audio source. In fact, maybe we'll make this the music source. No, see, I hate when it does that. I haven't even created it yet. But obviously, if there's a reference dragged in there already, then it's helpful sometimes. So I'll let it do that. I'll go back to Unity, let it recompile, and then I'll come back here and remove it, because then it keeps the reference, which is pretty handy. The music audio source component. And I always like to give these headers. We'll call this one dependencies. And yeah, then we'll say music source dot clip equals music source dot play. And then call that audio events. And then we will make a audio player object, and we'll make this an actual mono behavior. We'll call this the audio player. And we're just going to kind of copy things so I don't have to retype everything hundreds of times. This will be the audio clip. The audio clip to play. And then we'll make a start method that calls the audio events dot play music with the audio clip. Haha. And just because if come on, writer, I need you to autocorrect for me. If audio clip equals null, then we'll return, because we obviously don't want to call it with nothing. And that should be good. Alright, then so we'll move that to audio player, get rid of that, move this to audio events, get rid of that, and get rid of this extra using statement. Very nice clean code, you know, keeping it simple but keeping it clean, make sure everything is very informative of what it is. Then go ahead and add a empty object, call this audio source. I like to make things children instead of putting it directly on the manager itself. We do not want play on awake. And I just realized for music, we probably want it to loop. So come back in here, loop equals true. Later on, we'll get to some fancy stuff. We'll have it fade out and in if there's different different tracks that play, and make zones that can trigger other tracks and all that good stuff. So then we'll create audio object. Oh, I love it when the transform's always something super random. Audio player. Audio player. Now, do we have any music? I do not think so. So we're gonna have to go source some music here. Music, let's see, we'll get it from, just grab it from like my sandbox project that I have. So I have a sandbox project that I import tons of assets and things into, and let's see, I'm gonna steal it from the Corgi engine here. Maybe something retro. I don't actually know where the audio is in here, which does not help. No, yeah, that's all this other stuff. Common resources, no. Where are you? It's gotta be under menus, or I mean under demos. I don't know why I said menus. Okay, you know what? We're just gonna open up the sandbox project because that makes it 1,000 times easier. And while we do that, we'll go in here to settings, make an audio folder, and we will create an audio mixer. We'll just call this default main. Main mixer, I guess. I don't know. And let's open that up so we can actually see it. Now let's add a different group. Call this music. We'll add an, oh, no. Click on that. Add another one. Call it sound effects. Maybe we'll add some other stuff later. Why don't we give these some nice color codes. Red. We'll just go rainbow, huh? Yellow. Red, orange, yellow. Why not? Okay. Then we can go to this audio source and we'll put it as music. The music audio source, right? Music source. Like to name things what they are and when I have reference to them. This now has the music channel. Then we have an audio player. All right, let's go to, this is a different project. This is my sandbox project. And we will look for audio clips. What do we want to use here? I don't know what's actual music or what sound effects music. Let's try that. What does this sound like? Huh. That's pretty nice. Kind of gives me some Final Fantasy vibes almost. I'm not sure if that's going to be good for racing around with your friends though. Let's try this instead. Oh no. Well, I like retro stuff, but that's a little too retro. Ooh, okay, okay. We'll go with this. The Retro Theme 2. Alright, now close that down. Go back here. Let's copy it into here. We'll just keep what it's called, that's fine. And we will put that there. And let's see if that works. Yeah, alright. That's some racing music right there. Race your friends against some crazy retro music. Try to give myself Oh, oops. Oh, I accidentally clicked out. That's what I did. Or else I would have had that. Yeah. Alright, cool, cool. Then... So I already kind of did this in another project. Let's go get, go look at this other project. Yo, what's up, Nemo Returns? How you doing, bro? What are you up to today? Alright, so we've got a... Oh, that's right, I usually put this under the input manager instead. That's probably a good place to go next. Yeah, I just finished lunch, huh? Nice. What'd you have for lunch? Anything good? Input manager. We'll throw the event system on there instead. That can actually handle UI. What is beef undo? I'm not sure if I know what that is, but it sounds good. Oh, udon. Oh, dope. Man, that sounds bomb. Let's see, we're going to take this input folder, we're going to drag it out here to assets. We're just going to rename this input actions. Might have to go fix some things. I don't like it to be tied to the player directly. And we'll just get rid of that, and that, and that should be fixed. And what else we got? The debug controls. Get rid of that, and that should now be fixed. Cool, cool. Of course I know you by that name. I was just trying to keep it professional, you know. I don't want to announce your name on Twitch chat or Twitch stream or something, you know. Alright, so what I like to do is I like to take, now I'm getting confused which project's which. Okay, here we go. I like to take the input actions script, and I like to make a scriptable object for it. That everything can then have reference to. Now, what do we call this? Input? Input actions SO? Yeah, I recently uninstalled NVIDIA Broadcast. I had NVIDIA Broadcast installed to get rid of all that extra noise, but it was crashing my computer a ton for whatever reason with like their latest update. And I uninstalled it. So now you get to hear all that great extra noise because I forgot to reinstall it before streaming today, which I meant to do. So I apologize for that. I'm sure it will get quite annoying. Yeah, it's probably when I speak, because I also have a GoXLR mixer that's set to kind of pick up my mic at different different decibels and stuff. Here, I'll show you. So in here, I've got like a threshold, and then I can turn it down, and then you can't hear me. So we'll put it back to where it was. Before the stream starts to pop off, huh? Yeah. We'll see, hopefully. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so I don't know what to call this. I hate when I don't know what to call something. I guess for now, we'll just call it input. Make a descriptable object. Call it input. We will add the create asset menu. Input. No, I think I want to call it input actions SO. Some crap like that. And we'll rename the file. No, why would I want you to rename that? Alright. Then, let's see. So we want the input actions on enable input actions equals a new input actions enable. Aha. Actually, and then in between here, actually let's put that in, no, the scriptable object, we don't have awake. So input actions dot player dot move. How do I add the where's the action for this? I can't remember. For the event to subscribe to, I guess, is what I'm thinking. Or maybe I just make this I player actions. Is that what it was? Default input actions. That doesn't sound right. Input actions dot iPlayer actions. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So we'll add all those. You know what? I've got no, I'd probably have to restart my computer if I. You know what? F it. Let's go reinstall NVIDIA Broadcast, because it's bothering me too. I can actually hear everything in my headphones. NVIDIA Broadcast down. I just meant to get rid of that. Download. Now, if my stream crashes, we'll know exactly why. There we go. Actually, the stream will not crash because I'm streaming from a second PC. But if my computer crashes, we will know exactly why, is what I meant. I think I can do a clean installation. Yeah, let's do that. just in hopes that maybe that fixes whatever was the issue before. Get rid of Chrome, and we'll continue with this while that's doing that. Yeah, so I'm glad I did not call this input, because now I actually want a, we'll make it a struct called input, that will have a public vector2 that we call movement, public bool that we call jump, public bool that we call dash. We even have an on attack and example action, huh? Well, maybe we'll get rid of those. I think this is all we need for now. Let's move that here. Oh, thanks, NVIDIA Broadcast. Sure, yes. Alright, we'll see if this fixes the microphone here. That should be the chat mic. Noise removal on, perfect. It should not fix it quite yet because I need to go switch out something else. We'll get rid of that effect, and we don't have a camera on this computer, it's on the stream computer. So we'll close that out, it's still running, perfect. Oh shoot. Well, maybe that did fix it actually, but I just realized that my voice mod is not working, or not running. So now let's get voice mod up and going. Somewhere, maybe. My mic might cut out for a minute, we'll see. There it goes. Should have actually started with my computer. Okay. So you might not be able to hear me, but maybe you can. I'm not sure. Switch this to the NVIDIA Broadcast microphone and output it through the chat channel. Perfect. And if you haven't seen voice mod before, so NVIDIA Broadcast is software made by NVIDIA if you have an RTX card that can do noise removal as well as other effects if you want to add them. Well, it's only got a room echo removal, which I've never actually used before. I just use the noise removal, and that usually gets rid of all my typing sounds and stuff. You can also do it to your speakers, but I don't like to use that because it takes up enough resources as is. And then if you have a camera plugged in, you can actually do like a green screen effect and stuff like that with your camera all through this app, which is pretty cool. Which that's what I'm actually using on the stream computer to get this cool green screen thing going. But you don't need NVIDIA Broadcast to do that. You can actually go to their website. Oops, let me pull that up here. NVIDIA Broadcast Download Center. And you can go to this link, the download resources, and you can download the video effects SDK or the audio effects SDK. This is what NVIDIA Broadcast uses under the hood. And so you can then use these SDKs in OBS directly to remove your green screen, which is actually what I'm doing because I have a cloned source of my camera, so then I can switch over to another scene like so, and actually give you what it looks like in my camera, and then switch back and get the green screen effect whenever I feel like it, which is pretty dope. And then the audio effects gives you like the noise removal and stuff, and the AR SDK I haven't really used, but you're supposed to be able to do like face filters and stuff with it. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to do that. I was using Snap Camera for a while, but that has since been terminated. But if I want, I can. I have a like hacked version. No camera input available. Oh yeah, duh, because the OBS is using it. Well, anyways, I don't like using Snap Camera anymore, but every once in a while I use it to put some cool face filters and stuff on. But that takes up tons of resources, which is not good on your streaming computer. All right, let's see, where were we? So we want to add an input. Nice, yeah. Alright, so then we say input dot movement equals context read value as a vector2. And that's all we need for that one. And then now this one I can't remember if I just want to read it directly or if I want to use like the context.started action. Let's try that for now. So if context started input dot jump equals true. Else if context dot now, do I want to jump held boolean? I don't think we need that, but it might screw up the jump if we don't do that. I guess we'll just say input else if canceled. In fact, let's get rid of the else, because if it's canceled in the same frame, then we want it to be canceled. So we'll just do something like that for now. And then same there. We'll change that to dash. And I don't really want those other ones. And we'll give this a public input called input. And we'll just point it to that private input field. The current input. All right, lots to compile here. So let's go back to our input actions. I don't think we need example action. And we don't really need attack at the moment. Let's see, is this all set up? We got left stick, WASD, D-pad, that's fine for now. C button, I don't think I like that. Let's get rid of that. So just the A button or whatever it is for different consoles on your controller, or the space button for jump, and for dash. let's actually make that the F key instead. Or, oh, the right button on your mouse, that's pretty cool. Yeah, input can get really annoying, but I like to make this kind of layered system with this scriptable object here. I'll show you in a second. That really, really helps. Button west. Should I make that like the trigger instead? I think I'm gonna make that the trigger. Hello? Please go into gamepad. What? Gamepad, please. That one, thank you. So we'll make it the right trigger for the gamepad. Which, let's go ahead and test that too. Get my Xbox controller. Xbox controller here. Get it connected, so we can try that out. We'll save the asset. I'm probably actually gonna have a... No, actually I won't make a compile error, but I no longer need those, because those don't exist anymore. So yeah, I guess to explain my input system, I like to use the new input system, which seems a lot more intuitive to set up once you know how to use it, which I'm sure you do. And now that we've kind of got, nice, yeah. So now that we've got some actions in here, I then have it generate the C# class for me. Luckily, TaroDev actually already did this for me. But if he had not, I would have created this and set it up to generate this C# class. And then I like to build this scriptable object around it that can enable and disable. In fact, we're not going to do that. I don't like doing that. What we should do is give it public methods like so. And we'll just call enable from there. That way, someone that is using this scriptable object can enable or disable input as needed. But so I create this nice scriptable object as kind of a wrapper around the input. Enable input. And we'll copy that and paste it here and make that disable input. And for now, in the onEnable method of this scriptable object, we just create a new input actions, which is that C# script that was generated. And then we call this nice enable method, which it doesn't really matter whether I had this or that, obviously. And then anything that also has reference to this object, so as input happens, these events get called because I have inherited from the iPlayerActions interface, which is part of that C# script. So whenever an event is invoked in here, because I've inherited from that interface, it will automatically call these public methods from the interface, which I then feed whatever has happened in each event into my input struct, which is just a basic struct that holds the current frame's input. So you'll kind of see that in action in just a second. This all looks good. Okay, and then, oops, that's the wrong project. So I'm going to keep getting confused now because I've got another copy of this project that I kind of already started. to reference here. So let's go create an input manager class. And before I forget, let's create a scriptable objects class. By the way, has my keyboard noise been fixed now that I reinstalled the NVIDIA broadcast? Oh, is there one for software and development? I don't know. It's been too long since I've done this. Let's see. We'll go edit it. Software and game development. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. There we go. Yeah. Well, I was technically just chatting at first while I got set up, so. But I forgot to switch it over. Yeah, no worries. Just let me know if the keyboard sound's still there or not. It should be gone, though. At least I hope it's gone. Now, what did I do with that? Script, input manager, get him on there. And I should probably bring in all my template scripts. Input manager. So then this guy will have reference to the input actions scriptable object. The input actions scriptable object. So the input manager gets reference to this scriptable object. And what we'll do is in its start menu, we'll call that enable input. But then that way, I can kind of do the same thing that I've done with all my other classes, or other manager classes, I should say. We create a static input events class. Public static event action on enable. Make it an empty delegate, and public static void enable, call on enable.invoke. Event invoked to enable input. Event invoked, oh no, not event. Invoke an event to enable input. Then we can copy these. We'll put it right there. And we'll take this one and call it disable. On disable. Make sure we fill all these out. The proper stuff. And fire that there. Boom. So then we have an input events class that can be called from anywhere, like the game manager, or I don't even know. It doesn't matter where it's called from. The point is it can be called from anywhere, and then our input manager will subscribe to these events. So on enable. Call that enable. And on disable, call that disable. In fact, we'll call it disabled input, enable input. Nah, it's fine. We'll just call it disable for now. And I like to keep all my Unity methods up at the top here. Sorry, that should be disable. And then we'll copy those, paste them there, and unsubscribe from them. But yeah, so now Anywhere can then call into or invoke an event to enable or disable input based on like what if the pause button was pressed, if the game just started, maybe a cutscene just started, you want to disable input during the cutscene, or maybe you want to allow them to skip the cutscene. I don't know, it kind of depends on your purposes. But then from here, we have our input manager that is using this input action scriptable object and listens for those input events, and then we'll call the enable or disable methods on them respectively. Let's make everything nice and clean for now. That out of here for now. So here's the input events. We don't really need those at the moment, but we will at some point. Now, do we want to do this in the start method? We'll just call it enable. And then because this input manager will be a like persistent manager, which we haven't set that up, but there's really no need to at the moment. But it'll be a persistent manager, so it'll be created right when the game starts. And because it has reference to the scriptable object, that will cause its onEnable method to be called, which I actually don't need to do that anymore. I'm glad I came back and looked. So that'll just call its onEnable, which I actually don't even need that anymore. We can clean that up by doing that. And make it read-only too. Hey. Fancy. Alright, and we'll do the targeted type new. Writer has all those cool little shortcuts for us. And I like to take read-only stuff and actually put it down below regular private variables. I have kind of like a certain order that I put things. Now, usually I will put public methods up at the top, but because these are methods that are part of this interface, I don't really want them to be surfaced. So we might actually change that. So maybe we do want an onEnable method. And then we want an onDisable method. And in onEnable, we will take the input actions. Is that right? Yeah. Input actions dot player dot move. Now I know that there is an action here, not canceled. I guess it's performed. I thought there was another way to do this. What is it? No, that's remove action. Maybe that's it. Is there an add action? I forget how to subscribe to this directly. I know there's a way. That way we can actually get rid of this interface and these methods don't have to be public because someone that has reference to the scriptable object could then technically call those methods, and I don't like that. What was that? Dun, dun, dun. The only events I see are started, performed, and canceled. I think it's performed that we want. Performed plus equals on move. Yeah, that looks right. Alright, so then we can take those and make it jump on jump. Make this dash on dash, and then we can actually get rid of this interface now. And then these can all be made private. Aha. And then, so we don't forget, we will go ahead and unsubscribe from these events in the on disable, just for nice clean code and clean up the memory. I think that all looks good. So now anyone who has reference to this scriptable object can technically enable input, disable input as needed, or just get the current input for the frame, that is. So then our input manager on start will enable that. And I think that's all we need for now. So let's go ahead and go get some things set up in the editor. Fill in our scriptable object. Oh, you know what? One thing I like to do though is make sure I add a header just to keep things looking nice and clean. Then let's see. So we got our input actions. Input actions, input events, input manager. That will enable the input. Then, for example, we can come down here to this debug controls that was created by TaroDev. Let's go ahead and get rid of all the private modifiers. If it's not there, then I consider it private anyways, so I don't like to have that. A lot of companies like you to keep that though. And then so in here we take our input actions SO, input actions SO. Yeah, I'm usually explicit when I'm doing like actual work for companies, but when it's my own stuff, I think it makes more sense not to have it there, because then you have to go and read the word to know that it's private or public, and they both start with the letter P, right? So in my personal code, I like to just get rid of it, because if it's not there, then I just assume that means it's private to begin with. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, less stuff on the screen makes it a lot cleaner, in my opinion. Okay, so then here we have input actions. We can get rid of that. Oh, wait a minute. Is that how you can So he's setting input. I forgot there's like an input action class, so he's getting that from the input actions, but we don't have that anymore. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. get rid of that. What is set? What does set do? I guess that just, it's like setup or something. Oh, that's like setting the UI. Gotcha. Okay. I see. And then it's taking these actual input actions and grabbing the was pressed this frame or is pressed, etc. Might want to do that too, but I don't like doing that. So in here, so we'll get rid of all that. The input will be the input actions input going forward. Because we already have, we don't need this to be filling out that frame input. We already have this input from our input actions, because it's keeping track of that. So it's listening to the events, it's filling in this frame input based on the events, which maybe I might want to change this up now, because it should be like was pressed this frame, but we'll get there. So then we can go input movement, fill all that in, and we'll just say input.jump for now. So yeah, so now this doesn't need reference to any of that input stuff. It just has, in fact, it doesn't need this either. It just has reference to that scriptable object, which is kind of my layer in between the input system that anyone can use. And set control text. Oh, you know what this is doing? It's taking the binding and it's displaying it in the UI down here. So it's telling you what the jump button is. So anyways, do we really need that? Not really. Let's go ahead and just get rid of that. I don't really care for that. Now, maybe I should have made my own version of this so that I'm not destroying all of his code, just in case I need to keep it. But that's fine. We'll just go with it. Toggle save state. Cool. We'll give this a header, call it dependencies, like usual. State loader. Interesting. A lot of things are tied together in his code, which I'm not a big fan of, but it was for his demo, so it makes sense to get it done quick, but we want to do it nice and clean here. In theory, this, oh, look, see, it doesn't even need reference to the input system anymore, which is nice, because it just needs that scriptable object. And so it doesn't have any extra references or dependencies that it doesn't need. It just holds that scriptable object. And now it technically doesn't even need to do this preprocessor directive because, and let's get rid of the one down here, because we want all these to be there. And this input actions scriptable object should actually have the preprocessor directive itself, and we could make a, in fact, let's just do it really quick. We want it to be able to enable or disable. No, we just want you to be able to get the input actions. Confusing. So if, hold on, what was the debug statement for that? Or the preprocessor? Enable input system. Yeah, that, duh. If enable input system, else if, oh no, just else, and then end if. So then in here, we can make these methods go there, because they're part of the new input system, because they're using that input actions. And then we'll even put, let's see, that should also go there. Put it down here. This is going to be for everyone. So we'll put it up here. Maybe, I don't know. We'll put it after the end if. Now this on enable, on disable is registering to all those input action events. So we'll put them inside of the enable input system. And same with all of this. Move all those events down there. Alright, so now all of this new input system stuff, code, is in the preprocessor directive for enabling the new input system. And then technically, in the else area, we could then have all the same stuff, but to enable or disable the old input system. In fact, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to write all this inside here because we have the new input system enabled. And so it will not autocorrect nicely unless I do that. And for now, I don't know what we're going to do with those. We'll just move those down there. And then what we can have is an update method. No, this is the scriptable object. Anyways, I'll come back to this. I kind of went down a rabbit hole. But the point is, we can then have anything for the new input system in here. And then we could also, for the old input system, be feeding the input into this struct that just holds whatever the current frame's input is. And that way, this scriptable object will then work for both the new and the old system. Yeah, deep rabbit hole. In fact, I think I have it set up. I have it set up over here somewhere, but well, that's not important. Let's get back to some real stuff. We'll come back to that later. But yeah. Save that off. And then here, we can get rid of that now. So then this class that's updating the UI, even if the old input system was enabled, it wouldn't matter. It doesn't have reference to the new or old input system anymore. It just has reference to that scriptable object. So it can just grab whatever the current frame's input is and continue to update the colors of the stuff. So why don't we actually go double check that that works like it's supposed to. Oh, so now this is kind of an in the onEnable of the scriptable object, that gets called from within the editor sometimes, which is annoying. So we'll just say if it equals null, and actually we'll have to change this to not be read-only. Input actions equals new. Oh yeah, duh, I can just do the cool little all the new syntactical sugar. Ah, nice. Glad to hear it. Yeah, NVIDIA Broadcast is wonderful, but then it can start eating up your resources pretty quick. Let's see where we're at. So it runs as a background process. And it's actually not doing too much. Well, let's see, is this all part of it? Yeah, see this, all these like NVIDIA containers are part of it as well, and you can see it's taking up like a good amount of my memory. I'd be willing to bet that most of the memory is that, and oh, here we go, it actually showed up here. So yeah, the Unity editor, the hub, and then the NVIDIA Broadcast. So it takes up a ton of memory. Luckily, I've got tons of memory on here. I've got like 128 gigabytes, which is probably way overkill, but that's kind of like the new standard these days, right? So yeah, where were we? Oh, So now, same thing here. If input actions equals null, just return. Because there's nothing to unsubscribe from if it's null. But so here we are checking if it's null, because sometimes this is called from the editor. And if it's null, then we create a new one and we subscribe to the events. And then in the onDisable, which can also be called in the editor, we check if it's null again, and if it is, then we return, because we shouldn't, it means we haven't hit this yet, so it was never created, so there shouldn't be anything to unsubscribe from. And hopefully that fixes our issue. Create scriptable object from colon and onEnable. Oh, that just means you can't do this new, you cannot create the new input actions from the field, because that gets called from the constructor, and that's a no-no because this is a scriptable object. So I'm working on input because I'm slowly going to swap out the things that are using input, because in this demo code for this platformer project, a lot of things are tied together, which I don't like. So in essence of good practice and good coding, I am starting to separate those things out. For example, these debug controls, which is this UI down here, was tied to the input system, and I don't like that. So I've made a wrapper around the input system in this scriptable object, and then it can just use the input that it gets from that, as well as, so that's like the UI that was using that. And then we also have the player game object, no, not that. The player prefab game object, which in here in the player controller script, this is all TerraDev's code too. It is, what is player input? Yeah, oh, okay, so I guess he has it in a separate class, but he's got a player input class that's then tied to the whole new input system. And instead of doing that, we can actually now get rid of that and get rid of that. And get rid of all of that. And we're going to make this my input. Oh, see, he does have a jump held boolean. That's fine. We don't need that. We're going to get rid of this struct. We don't need that. We're going to use my input. Oh, see, look, so he's got it set up here too, actually, where it was using the new input system to feed that frame input, and then this one was the old input system. But we're getting rid of all of that because we don't need this to know about any of that. It just needs to return. So now, see, this player input just has a serialized field for the input action scriptable object. Let me know if that was a good enough explanation too, but I'm going to keep explaining as I go. So this player input then, so look, it doesn't need any of this, of these references anymore. It's very bare bones. And this is the input actions scriptable object. And it does, however, need is there 2 inputs? I'll figure that out in a second. So instead of like reading the input itself, it shouldn't be responsible for that. That's what the input actions scriptable object does. It's reading all the input as it comes in. So this player input can then just return the input actions input. And it doesn't need to read anything. It's just very nice and clean. Now, gotcha. So we're gonna make this my input, I guess, for now, because Unity also has an input class, which is annoying. Anyways. Dependencies, player input, player input. All right, now, so then this guy will have reference to input. And I'm assuming, where's frame input? Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, I gotta do the, I gotta specify mine specifically. Oh, let's remove all these redundant private fields. And this is movement. Holy crap, I broke everything. Oh, it's just because things are spelled different or named differently. So frame input is just going to be called input from now on. And so I think this is being called from the update method. Oh, he's got like a tick update. That's smart. Okay. But anyway, so in the update method, oh, don't mess with that. In the update method, it's then gathering input, and instead of having to do all that reading and stuff, it just grabs it straight from the player input, which is grabbing it straight from the input actions scriptable object, which is kind of redundant. Gotcha. You know what? We're going to get rid of that. And up at the top, we're going to add, added this somewhere else already. Add that. Put actions, scriptable, oh my god, object, and add that reference. So now we got rid of that player input class. We don't actually need this anymore. Let's see, who else is using this? Player controller, that's still in the player controller. So player, let's go back to the editor really quick. The player input class is redundant. We can completely get rid of that. There's no need to have it. And then in the player controller class, this now has reference to that input action scriptable object. It doesn't need any other dependencies on the input system. And everything. See, we don't need this extra player input component anymore. And then we just have to go through and update everything. Input equals the input actions input. So yeah, so in the update method, it's then grabbing that current frame's input and it's caching it. And then we're reading if the jump button is pressed or if the dash button is pressed, then we do those things. But that's all in the rest of his controller, but we'll start separating all that out later. Now let's go fix all this other stuff that we broke. Movement. These are all movement. Let's just copy paste to make this quicker. Input.movement. If not, input.jump. Movement, movement, movement. Input, movement, movement. Jeez, got a lot of code in here for a bunch of different things. I really don't like how all of this is just in one class, but it also works well. It makes it easier for these things to be programmed as well. So we fixed all the errors, and now this player controller has reference to the input action scriptable object. It reads all of its input from there, which is actually handling all the input stuff. So the solid principles, single responsibility principle is the input actions is responsible for that. The player controller then doesn't have to read input, it just grabs it from this object that is responsible for it, and then handles the player. It controls the player appropriately, right? So in theory, so now we fill in this input action scriptable object, and in theory, we have now separated out the input system completely from any references that once had it before. The only thing that's not going to work is this jump and dash. Usually shows like what button is assigned, and we're not using that anymore. So oh wow, he's using all the old text system too, not even TextMesh Pro, man. But so we're just gonna get rid of those. We don't need that anymore. And let's go ahead and look at frame controls, visual input. So visual input, let's position back into the corner, and then we'll make it like and 10. And I don't like that these are weird numbers. We'll just make them 75 and 75. All right. So now when we play, in theory, the player should still completely act exactly. It's nice to have the input just separated out like that. In fact, hold on. Let me show you in this other project. So here's my input manager, same as in the. Oh, why you'd need to see your inputs. Oh, sorry, I read that wrong. I think that was just part of his demo. It's kind of cool actually. So as I'm pressing the keys, once I press play, these light up yellow as you're pressing the key. So in theory, I think I've properly separated out the input from everything that was depending on it. So now nothing has a dependency on it anymore. And if I play, everything should still act the same. Yeah, and then you can see down here that it's lighting up the different keys as I press them. However, I did not do it completely correctly here because it is continuing to, oh, you know what it is? In the player controller, it's caching that input each frame. Where was that? It's down here. So it's caching the current frame's input into its own input, and then it's reading that all throughout the script. Even if it has changed, things are acting like the button is still down, actually. So let's get rid of that as well. And we'll copy this because that's what we really need. And this might look a little messy, but that's just because I'm filling it all in here. Input actions. So, because now when things, when other scripts call into these properties, they will get the current, actually, hold on. This might be because of something I did here. You know what? Because it's only using the performed. How did I do this in the other one? Give me a sec. Give me a sec. Input actions SO. So I'm firing off events. And I'm still using the interface that way. Actually, I kind of like that better. I did set it up like this for a reason. So here, visually, I think it was just for the demo, for fun. Nothing special. In the long run, we will most likely just get rid of that visual aspect because there's no need to have it. But let's see, I'll show you here. So this is kind of the project that I already kind of fleshed this out in. So I have a character class that is a mono behavior, and inherits from the iCharacter interface. And it has a profile, which is just a scriptable object with a name for now. So nothing fancy. But what's really cool is it has a brain. So every character can then have a character brain. And then in the character brain, this is actually an abstract scriptable object that has one abstract method called think, because that's what brains do, they think. So then I can have like an AI brain, and I can have a player brain. So the player brain inherits from the character brain, and it then has reference to that input action scriptable object, And based on the events, because how I set that one up is in this other project is it fires events instead of feeding the input directly, which maybe I want to switch to that. But then the player brain is listening for those events, and it has its own character input, which is character input is the same as the input class. So it's just a struct with the current frame's input. But the player brain can then fill out that input, and it then calls the think method. Well, so the player brain doesn't. The player brain is a scriptable object, but then the character class that is a mono behavior, in its update, if it has a brain, it then calls brain.think. So every frame, the brain is thinking for you to get the current input, which it then caches here. And then I have other classes like, say, character jump. So this is my jump ability. Sorry, my nose is itchy. So in here, in its update method, it has, every character ability has reference to its character, and then in its update, it's grabbing the jump input from that character's brain, technically. But, well, the character is doing the thinking, the brain's doing the thinking, the character's caching it, and then a character ability can then grab that current frame input. So, yeah. That's funny. It's a funny Twitch thumbnail. Great. New capture window, Unity game window on screen all times. Interesting. I might have to try something like that. The problem is, this main computer, I have 3 screens. And this middle screen is being fed to my Elgato capture card, which is then going into my stream computer. So it can only actually, the stream can only pick up what is on my main monitor, but that way I can have like chat off to the side and stuff. Look at this picture. Hold on, we gotta let everyone see this. This is amazing. I love your drawing. I just even got my face next to me. Why is that there? And the Streamlabs thing, I had removed that. Yeah, I guess I still got some bugs to work out. But yeah, no, I totally get what you mean. That's a good idea. The problem is, I can only capture what is on this main screen, this main monitor, to send over to OBS Studio, which is running on a separate computer. Otherwise, I could set it up with different sources like that. So, unfortunately, I'm not quite sure how I would do that at the moment. Alright, anyways. So, I might actually copy all this because I've already done this. I actually like this a lot better. So now, nothing has to grab. Ooh, mean motorcycle going by. Actually, you might not have even heard that anymore because of NVIDIA broadcast. It's that good. Mario? It's funny. Turn that up. Yeah, it would be nicer to keep this on screen at all times. Wonder if I could like pop this out. And well, I guess it won't matter while I'm coding, huh? I don't know. I gotta think that through. I'm not sure how to do that yet. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so, oh, that's what we're doing. Oh, no, don't do that. Go through and fix all of this. Now, I'm not sure if this will actually fix the problem with the input continuously being read from the cached input or not. It might actually be because my input action scriptable object is not completely set up how it should be. Go fix all this, fix that, fix that, fix that. All this is kind of messy, but we will extract this over time. And we don't really need those quite yet. We'll come back to that. And let's see if that fixed my problem. No, it did not. Okay, so let's add all that in. So now we don't want this to have its own. In fact, now that I'm thinking it through, this scriptable object is responsible for reading input that comes in. It could be from anyone, from any controller, from any device. And that's probably not what we want. And it's then feeding it into this one input struct that everyone's then reading from. And we probably don't want that. Now, I have a feeling it's because I'm doing that. Let me try something really quick. So move equals input actions dot player dot move. Now, can we do something else with that? No, it still has the performed and canceled. I could have sworn there was a way to register to the input action itself. It doesn't matter if it started, performed, or canceled, that it would feed you that context. Well, let's go look it up really quick. Unity input action. Input action class. Yeah, so they want you to register to each one separately. But I could have sworn there was a way to register to all of them. I guess not. Well, in that case, we're just going to go back to the input actions.iPlayerActions, and we'll make all these public again. Public, public, public. So then we don't actually need this. We do need that though, but we don't need to unregister from anything. So if it hasn't been created yet on enable, then it'll create it, and then if it has, and then nothing happens. Awesome. Oh, that's right. So now we don't want to feed it into this input class. Get rid of that actually. And we can get rid of this input class down here. And instead, we're just going to invoke these events. So we'll call move.invoke, and we'll pass in the context. Actually, I'm sorry, no, we want to pass in the context read value. So every time move is invoked in the input system, we will invoke our own event that just surfaces the actual vector2 movement. Now, do we want to call this movement? Because that's how I've named it. Let's call it movement. And no, I don't want you to rename all of these random things that you found. That seems counterintuitive. So yeah. And then down here in jump, we will call jump.invoke, pass in the context. No. How am I doing that in the other one? Oh yeah, so we're reading the context was pressed this frame, or is pressed. Do we want jump held? I don't think we do. I think we just want was pressed this frame. Also, I like to name all of my events with the word on for good convention and to stay consistent. Oh, well, shit. Didn't think about that, because this is also called on jump. So that's probably why I did not name them with the word on. So we'll go without it then. So we've got move, jump, and let's also do dash dot invoke, and the same thing was pressed this frame. Alright, now, in fact, I'm gonna get rid of all this extra input system stuff that we don't really need. We're just using the new input system, so let's just use the new input system. Alrighty. And we don't need pause or run yet, we'll add those later. So we've got movement, jump, and dash. So whenever the input system that is listening for those events hears that event, it will then invoke its own event, but without the context from the input system, because no one needs to know, no other scripts need to know about this. They just need to know the actual value of the movement on your horizontal joystick, or on your keyboard, for example, or if the jump button was pressed or not. Simple enough. So like right here, whenever something happens with the jump button in the new input system, it will invoke the jump event, but it'll only set it true if the jump was pressed this current frame, and if it's being held down, then it'll set it to false, or if it was canceled, it will also set it to false, but the next frame, that is. So then we got to come back here to this player controller that we've kind of screwed up now, and instead of I guess we'll still let it have that. Now, does this have an on enable? I don't think it does. Alright, so then in this player controller, eventually I'm gonna separate the input stuff out into a character brain, like so, because we're gonna take this player controller and make it modular. But for now, we're just gonna listen to the movement event on that input actions, and let's create some event or methods to register to those events. Movement. We'll put you interesting. Who's calling all this? Oh, he's got like a physics simulator class. That's then calling all of that in a for each loop. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Anyways, let's get... I don't know quite where to put this at the moment, so we're just going to leave it close by so I know what I'm doing, or I know where to find it. Call this on jump. This is a bool called jump, and we'll copy and paste that, and call this on dash. This is a bool called dash. Then let's fill these out. On jump, and dash, on dash, and make sure we unregister from these as well. Okay, so then we'll come up here, and we want this class to have its own input, its own cached input, so it can read from those events. Is that how I want to do this? I might be complicating things here because I switched up the plan. Either way, I'm going to say input.movement equals movement. Input.jump equals jump. Input.dash equals dash. Clean all this up, and eventually we will hide these down below out of the way of all these public methods. Well, I guess we have someone using onValidate from... Interesting, he's calling it from outside. That's kind of weird. Anyways, so then okay, well, so this should all then be switched back to, oops, that's not what I meant to do. I meant to do that. So let's go through and set it back to that input that we have cached. Now, if gather input is called each frame, yeah, that's fine. Okay, so this should fix our issue. Oh, hold on, I lost the chat here. Jump held does not have to be a must. There is a way to handle it without that, but it does help to have it too. So I might add that next. I just want to make sure I get all this set up properly though, because I kind of switched up my game plan and broke a lot of stuff. So let's go through and fix all of this. But the way you can handle jump without having a jump held boolean is in your jump class. Here, I'll show you. In my jump class, this is the boolean jump that I'm getting from that input, and that's all I need is I just need that one jump input. There's no jump held here. So I'm getting that, but I also have a second boolean for isJumpReset that starts off as true, and then once the jump button has been pressed, or once jump has been activated, it sets that isJumpReset to false, and it does not become true again until you lift up the jump key. So that way you can tell if isJumpReset is true, that means the jump button is being held down. So it's kind of like taking the Boolean from here and moving it to the class that's using it. So it really doesn't matter either way, I guess. That's just the way that I've done it. Pop it up, then on OBS set it to capture that window. To capture that window. I'm not sure I can do that. I'm reading your OBS window capture comments. Sorry, I had the chat hidden behind Discord because or was it Slack, because I was talking to you there. So I didn't see a lot of these messages until now. So okay, where was I? I'm losing myself now. All right, go back to here, finish fixing all of this. We want to make sure we didn't break anything. Everything still needs to have the same functionality that it did before. And we also need to update this UI. So now this will have its own input that it caches. See, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to move all of this out of the update method. So instead, we'll say input. In fact, I don't even think I need it to have its own input. Say input actions movement plus equals on movement, call this movement, and then we take all of this and we throw it into this event instead of being run each frame, because why would we want to run it each frame? And then we just swap it out there. So now it's only called whenever that event is fired. Instead of running each frame and taking up extra performance. And then we'll call this one jump. Make this an onJump method. OnJump and a bool for jump. And then that is this one. And we throw that there, and then we completely get rid of this update method, nice and performant, and we get rid of that. That should just be jump. And don't forget to unregister from that one as well. Alright, so yeah, so now things are all activated by events that come off of that scriptable object instead of running in the update loop and checking each frame whether it was pressed or not. It'll just all react to events, which is a lot nicer, a lot more modular. So we shall see. Now the player controller might still be screwed up, but I'll get back to that. But what should be fixed now is this UI. Let's make it nice and big. This UI should now react appropriately as I am pressing buttons. And it is not doing anything. Well, that's not good. What did I do wrong here? No, that's listening to that. should be enabling it. Just for kicks, let's enable it here. And let's just see if that helps, if that's the issue. If not, I'll start doing some log statements. That is not the issue. See, I was worried about this. I started going one way and then I swapped to another way, and now I've got to figure out what I did. It's always fun. So that wasn't the issue. So in start should be getting enabled. Let's actually go down in here. Let's make sure that it's being enabled. That doesn't matter. And what I like to do is put this in, or I'm sorry, put square brackets and say this is the input actions SO that is logging this message. So input enabled. And I guess just for sanity check here, let's add it here as well, but say disabled, just in case something is disabling it when it shouldn't be. Alright, so now if we play in our console, input is being enabled. Now, am I not registering to those events properly? I totally am. Am I not invoking those events? I totally am. That is super weird. I might have to just reload Unity. Movement. Let's do this. Do input actions SO. Movement, and we will fill in take that, put it there, and put it there. So we want to make sure these events are actually being invoked. Oh, whoops. Let me put a $sign in front of that because we want to actually read that variable. So jump equals was press this frame. And we'll pass it in there and there. And we'll put that there, and we'll call it dash. And we'll pass it in there. And then we'll grab this debug statement. And dash. Alright, so that will tell us if these events are being invoked like they should be. And also for more sanity, let's go here and say this is the debug controls movement. Let's see if it's receiving the event like it should be. This might just be one of those things where I need to restart Unity really quick or something. Sometimes I get weird behavior with the new input system because of that. Alright, well, now let's go check. And we can look at our log over here to see whether these events are being called. Okay, so input is enabled. And I am pressing keys, and none of those events are being invoked or picked up, which is very strange. Very strange indeed. Well, I think this is actually a Unity problem. Let's go ahead and just exit Unity really quick. We'll get rid of this other class that we have going. Ooh. I'm gonna need some coffee, bro. And let's open back up Unity and open the platformer. And reopen the C# project. And now, hopefully, Unity has fixed itself, and if I play, those events are still not being read. What did I do here? Is there not a settings asset? I thought there was. Oh, that might be why. Whoops. I think I never created this settings asset. The input settings asset, that is. And that might be why. Let's double check. Nope, that's not why either. What did I do here? I hate when I do this. This should be easy. Oh, you know what? It might be... No, that's set for keyboard and mouse. And this is set... oh, maybe it's because there's no supported devices. That might be why. I thought, wait, hold on. No, I thought, yeah, if you leave it empty, it supports all devices. So no, that's not why. Man, I was on a good roll too, and now I have broken everything. You know what? Let's go ahead and switch this to my namespace. That regenerates this. And then in here, we no longer need TerraDev. Now, I'm so curious. So that should be getting enabled. And these should all be being called respectively. Yeah, this is called player. Hit on move, on jump, on dash. Why is Unity's input system not working? That is fun. That is so fun. I promise it's not me. It's clearly that Unity's input system is not invoking these methods. Yes it does. So first off, there's the input manager that I always have, will have reference to the scriptable object. That way it does exist in the scene, even if no one else has reference to it. But then also this debug controls thing has reference to it, and the player that's being spawned in has reference to it. So very curious indeed. Mhm. Yeah, so underneath my input manager, I always have the event system as... Oh, thank you. You just helped big time. So the event system is set, well, I don't know if this, I think this is just for UI though. But it's set to the default input actions, and I want it to be set to my... No, I do want it to be set to the default. No, that's not the problem. Let's see. Let's go ahead and rename this something else. We'll call this, game input. And resave the asset. Yeah, so then that's my game actions, but that doesn't really change anything. No, because if I put mine in, I don't have any of these UI input events set up. So if I put mine in, it's gonna screw all those up. And I don't actually want that. Shit, how do I reset it? Oh, well, it deleted the default one. Well, too late now. Okay. What I was hoping is by changing the name on this action map, it actually changed the name of the interface, so I had to go fix that, and I'm hoping maybe that will do something. We are still not receiving any input, though. This sounds like, what is it, Donkey Kong, huh? Yeah. Well, this might be a good point for me to wrap things up and go get lunch too, because I have not eaten lunch yet, actually. And then I will be back later to play some games or something. But let me see if I can figure this out really quick. In fact, let me look at my other project that I already did this. Shit, which one was it? Alright, so in this other project, we have an input manager that has the input actions SO. We have an event system, but see, this one uses the default actions for all UI related stuff. And then we have, oh, that's right, I switched this to the new UI toolkit, which I actually hate, by the way. The new UI toolkit's really cool, but it really only works for editor UI. There are a lot of caveats for runtime UI, and I do not think it is ready to be used for runtime UI, and yeah. So, but anyways, you'll see this UI object has reference to that scriptable object, and then in here, I've got tons of UI stuff. Where is it using it? Now, why is it using this again? Who's using that? Oh, no one's using that. Interesting. Well, this is unfinished. I'm not sure what I did here. But the point is, we have a player object, and on the player, we have that character script that I was showing that has the player brain. The player brain then has reference to that input actions SO. So it is doing the same thing. It's listening for those events. In fact, let's go into the input actions SO. And oh, duh. Okay, I figured it out. It's because I forgot to set the callbacks on. So in this input actions SO, we have reference to the input actions, that script that's created, and we then need to what is it? Game? Is that what I called it? Yeah, game. Set the callbacks to that group of input that we've now called game, which was before called player. Set it to this because it inherits from the interface. So without setting the callbacks, it's not going to receive any events. Duh. So now we can remove callbacks from this in onDisable, and we'll do the if input actions equals null, then just return. So I'm going to do. Oh yeah, duh. I'll just do it like that. Cool. Alright, so now that we've set the callbacks, in theory, this should now work, and in our console, we should now receive all those events. Ah, look at that. So the player, in fact, it fixed the player too, but you can see as I press different keys, or the jump button, it does in fact fix that. But if I hold down the jump button, it is allowing the player to continue jumping, and that is because there is no jump held. Might actually turn off this audio player for now, just so I don't have to talk over it. But the player will continue jumping because there's no jump held button. So what we want to do, I guess for now, let's just add the jump held, because it's going to be way too hard to refactor all these thousands of lines of code. In fact, maybe I can. Hold on. Let's close everything up here. Ladders, jump. Okay, so jump to consume is jump reset, and we'll make that true. I don't want to do it here. It's going to be too complicated. We're going to add in the jump held. That's how it should be for now. So jump held, and then down in the jump. Actually, let's get rid of all of these now. We don't want any extra debug statements. We've figured out what our problem was, so let's clean up after ourselves. And actually, I meant to keep that big. This will be jump held dot invoke. And it'll be context.action dot is pressed. Then, so now we have a jump held event, and in our player controller, where is, it's probably under loop, right? Yeah, there we go. So input actions, jump held on jump held, and let's duplicate that. Call this jump held, and jump held, and we're gonna have to add that in here as well. And then on jump held. All right, so we have added the jump held now because we want that nice variable jump for when the player's jumping to cut off their jump if they're not holding down the jump button, or to continue letting them go up if they are, based on the values of jumping. And this should also then determine, oh, you know what though? There was somewhere that was using, that's using this. Let's see, let me go through this. There's somewhere that's using the jump held. That I changed it to instead just be jump. So I need to figure out where I changed that. Is using the jump. I think it was right here. So yeah, so then right here, this is like the early end detection for jumping. So if jump held is not being pressed, then we want to end the jump early, right? So that's where I had changed it. So now let's go uncomment out the input. And now we have a jump held event. So if we go back into our platformer, we should be able to play. And if I hold down the jump key, which you'll see down here, I guess maybe he has it set up to continue jumping. And who's doing this? Oh, that's right. I don't need any of those anymore either. Let's get rid of that. Get rid of that. No, that's fine how it is. That's really all we need for that guy. But I wonder if there's somewhere else that I had changed it to, actually. No, I don't have it in this other project. Let's close out the other project. Let's open back up the sandbox. This is, I keep like a sandbox project where I import all my plugins or things that I want to mess around with. That way I can do so without screwing things up, hopefully. And now we can go back here and look at the original. Yeah, so I think that's how it's set up in his player controller. Is that if you're not holding down the jump button, then it starts to then cut your velocity so that you do a smaller jump. Whereas if you press and hold the jump button, then you'll do a higher jump. So it's like that variable jumping. But because I didn't add the jump held Boolean to begin with, I might have changed that on accident somewhere. No, that is the only place that it's being used. Well, then I guess I I should test the original demo scene. This is the original demo scene without any changes. Can I press and hold the jump button here and continue to jump? No, I cannot. Interesting. Now, what did I do wrong? Yeah, jump is pressed. So now let me look at mine. I mean, it should be invoking it with the same context here. You know what? Let's try it the other way I was gonna do it. Is jump reset starts off as true. So if you press the jump button, is jump reset is false, else is jump reset is true again. Then where was it using jump held? So then here, if is jump reset, that means you've let go of the button. I'm not sure if this will work. I might have to go back through this and figure it out, but I'm getting hungry now. All right. No, it did not fix it. Let's see, look, so I can tap the jump button and do a little jump, or I can press and hold and it does a higher jump. So it's that nice variable jump. Boing. Oh wait, what? Oh, interesting. If you're jumping while bouncing, it cuts your bounce velocity, but if you let go of the jump, then it continues to grow. Kind of like a real trampoline, I guess, but I feel like you should jump higher if you're pressing the jump button. Anyways, I probably broke some stuff just because I was going down one path and then started going down another path. Okay, so we don't need that. We don't need this is jump reset. That was not the problem. Weird, my audio just made a weird glitch. I don't know if you guys heard that or not. You know what? Let's do it like this. If context started jump dot invoke with true, else if context dot performed jump invoke false, but jump held dot invoke true. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Jump held true should be up here as well. Else if context.canceled let's be very explicit here. So if the jump button was just press this frame, invoke the jump event with true. Otherwise, and invoke the jump held event with true. If you continue to hold the jump button down, for the next frame, it'll actually set jump to false. The tapping versus holding's working. What I broke is if you hold down the jump button, the character continuously jumps every time he touches the ground, and that's not supposed to happen. Yeah. So I'm trying to be very explicit here. So if the jump button was just pressed, jump is true and jump held is true. If it is still being performed on the next frame, then jump is actually false, because that should only be true on the frame that it was pressed. But jump held will continue to be true, because that means you're continuing to hold it down. And then if it was just released this frame, it will set jump to false just for safety measure, and also set jump held to false. So I'm being very explicit here. Let's see if that fixes the issue. If not, then I broke it somewhere else, and that's on me. Oh, now I can't even jump at all. Well, that's fun. You know what, I'm wondering, maybe I should take that off, because you know what, this is why I can't jump at all, because on the same frame that it started, it's setting jump to true, but then setting it back to false. Even though it's in an else if statement, this is being invoked based on the action, so it's constantly being invoked, which is not at the same rate as the update loop. So I'm setting it to true, and then I'm setting it to false. So let's take that off from there. I think that's the issue. I should be able to jump again. Yes, so now I can jump again, and if I press and hold jump, see, the character still continuously jumps, which is not really a big deal. I'm just annoyed at myself for breaking the original functionality, I guess. But we will figure that out later. So I don't think any of this was needed. That was all performing as it should be. So it has to be. It has to be in here, in the player controller that I broke it. Well, okay, so let's do this. We're gonna take the original player controller. We're gonna paste it on top of the player controller that I broke. We will then fix all the references. You know what? Let's do this. We're gonna keep that player input class. Is that his? Or did that come from the input system? Let's go grab his original player input class as well, just for good measure. recreate that really quick. And this is just input actions now, input actions, and in fact, let's try to reset some things here, just so that I don't lose my mind. Resave that, go back here, this is iPlayer actions, okay, good. So, oh wait, what did I do? Player, set and remove callbacks. Okay, so now back in his original player controller, he's then getting the input from the player input class. And this is where I can get rid of I can get rid of his struct and just use mine. Let's start there. You know what? We will call this character input. And this will now be character input. That way I don't have to rename it or use very explicit namespace calling. It's just jump dash and it's movement. And I actually want that up at the top. And get rid of that. And move that up to the top. And that's jump and that's dash. Okay. Oh, no. Okay, so now we want to I know where I'm at now. Now we want to get this input actions SO in here. The input actions scriptable object. I've only wrote this a few times today. So now we shouldn't have any need for any of this, actually. And what we will do instead is listen to those events from the input actions, and we will have a character input, get rid of all these extra references that we don't need, and input actions dot movement on movement character input dot movement equals movement. All right, nice and clean and simple. Put that there. Whoa, what? Oh, duh, I've already got on disable. I was trying to write it again. All right. And so actually want to keep that open. So this is on jump, this is jump held, and this is dash. And then we'll just do that. And these are all bools, actually. Jump, jump held, dash, and this is on jump held, on dash, jump equals jump held equals jump held, dash equals dash. All right, and then we want that, and copy all those and unsubscribe from them. And last but not least, we just return that character input instead. And if table input system, then we put that down there. We'll put that down there. And then should fix this really quick too, actually. So this would be character input dot movement equals this. Character input dot jump equals this. Character input dot jump held equals this. And character input dot dash equals this. And then we just return character input. All right, so we've even got the old input system set up too, if in case we want to switch back to that. Now, if we go back here, what did I break? Yes, gotcha. So we want to make this the character input. We're gonna just call it input. And this is just jump, and that's just dash. This is movement. That's throughout a lot of the script. Let's see what's up here that's broken. That's also movement. 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 Da, da, da. Alrighty. So I think we are just about good here. So I've got all his original code. I didn't break anything. Everything should be as it was. He then has everything separated out into this player input class that we have now updated to just read events from my input action scriptable object. So it no longer has references to anything input system. And we should be good, I think. Let's see if I fixed it. So that's all working. Oh, wait a minute. Oh yeah, duh. So we need to take that player object. We need to find the player input wherever that was. Let's see, who has reference to you? So it's on the player controller, or at least it should be. Where's the player controller? Is that not here? in its awake, it is doing a try get component for player input, and if it's not there, it's then adding it. Oh, but then it doesn't have reference to the scriptable object because it's not already on there. So let's move that out. And let's just require that for now. I don't really want to do too much other hacky stuff at the moment because I am getting very hungry, and so I'm going to wrap this up. So we've moved the player input out here to a serialized field, so we have to drag in the reference. And then if we go back to the player, we will then add the player input component, so it's already on here. I guess I didn't need to do that. And then this needs the input actions. Oh, whoops, that's not the right player input. It should be that one. Player controller, player input, and input actions. In fact, we can move this. It doesn't need to have that out here. It can just remain down here. And then we're still doing that try get component, I think. Let's turn off capitalization. That would help. Yeah, so then it tries to get the component. If it's not there, it adds it, but it will already have it this time. And that's set up with input actions. So it won't give me a null reference, and so when I play, everything should work. Yeah. Okay, now can I? Interesting. How is it still doing that? Even though I corrected that. Well, okay. I guess I broke something. I don't even understand what I broke now. I mean, yeah, it should be listening for those events. I think the problem is that I'm surfacing these events with that context, but then in here it's just listening for that event and setting the value, which then before it was reading that context directly. So, alright, I'm gonna give myself 5 more minutes here, and then I'm gonna break for lunch, guys. So where is that gather input? Gather input. Okay. So, if input jump to consume, jump reset equals false. We'll add this in just a minute. Jump reset, that should start as true. So if you have pressed the jump button, I'm gonna have to read through this code to see how this is being used. But it's definitely because instead of reading that context directly each frame, it's going based off events, so the jump button can still be true by the frame that you hit the ground again. So that's going to cause an issue. Actually, what if I do this? If input.jump held, jump reset is false. Because this is all happening in the update loop right here, but then all the actual physics and jumping, like here, there it is, calculate jump, is then happening in fixed update, which is running at a different rate. It's running at a fixed rate for physics calculations, because that's what it's for. So so maybe here, execute jump is, no, jump reset equals false. What if I set it there? So if a jump is executed, it then sets that to false. And hold on, let me read this code really quick. And then maybe right here where you let go is where I reset it. That might be the place. Jump reset equals true. But then where do I use this? Oh, you know what? It should actually probably be right here. If not, jump reset and jump to consume or has a buffered jump and you can stand, then we'll perform and it will execute a jump of some kind. So when the execute jump is called, it then sets that to false, so that if you try to jump again, this will now be false and it should not let you jump. And then if you let go, I'm not sure this is quite going to work because I need to actually read through this code. I'm just trying to do this like real quick and I just hit my 5-minute mark. Let me just see if that works. Yeah, so that's not going to quite cover it. In fact, if not jump reset, return. Don't execute a jump. So I don't need to add that there. And then I think we don't want to base that off everything else that it's calculating. We just want to say if not input.jump held, and then jump reset is true. That might do it. Let's check. Oh, now it doesn't let you jump unless you have let go. Well, I'm close. It's something to do with that. I'll come back to it. It's not super important. Yeah, I know. I went down a rabbit hole. Again. I tend to do that. But yeah, we're close. We're close. What if I say if... I want to try one more thing before I forget, because I won't remember this later on. And not input.jump held, then set it to true. So you then have to touch the ground again and let go of the jump button. To jump again. Possibly. That might fix it, actually. Nah, still not quite. Alright, well, we'll come back to that. That's not super important. What's important is that we have separated out the input stuff for now. And we can go ahead and play our game. Oh, and now I completely broke jumping. How did I do that? Oh, you know what? Okay, so it's this then. It's not allowing me to... Okay, well, again, I'll come back to that. But that should now allow me to jump. There we go, and let's play our game. Yeah. Alright, we'll go around twice. We're gonna go around once and see what time I get, and then we'll try to go as fast as possible and see if I can beat my time. Oh wow, I suck at wall jumping apparently. Okay, let's go fast, fast, fast. Go! So I got, what, 30... Oh shit. No! Damn it. That's gonna ruin my time. I was trying to go the shortcut way through the top. Oh, I still beat my time. 24 seconds. Let's see if I can do it one more time. I'll just dash the whole time. There we go. Got the shortcut. Oh shit, I still fell. Oh. No, I did not beat my time. It's 25 seconds. Alright, well, yeah. That's enough for now, though. One more thing before I forget. I still have these debug statements that I don't want anymore. And, yeah. I think that is good for now. Go ahead and close this out. We will save this, and we will come back to it later. Just close all of this out. But yeah, I appreciate you guys for hanging out today. We are going to step away for some quick lunch. Let's switch to our just chatting scene. Yeah, you like my logo, huh? Anyways, I'm gonna step away for some lunch, and I will be back in a bit after I am no longer hungry, and jump on some games, maybe some Dark Souls or something else. I'm not sure yet. But thank you guys for hanging out. I appreciate you, and I will catch you guys later.